Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take all that cool stuff you send us, those links, those articles, and, well, we really dig in.
Yeah, we try to get to the heart of what makes it tick. Basically, your personalized intel briefing.
Exactly. And today, you've pointed us towards a really interesting one, the YouTube series Defunctland.
Defunctland. We've got a bunch of sources here, articles, forum chats, the works, all about this show.
Right. So our mission, as you've kind of said it for us, is to figure out what's the magic behind Defunctland. Why does this show about, old theme park rides and forgotten TV shows pull in so many viewers?
Yeah. What's the secret sauce? We're hoping to uncover some maybe surprising stuff.
Definitely. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Where did Defunctland actually come from? Who's behind it?
Well, the creator and host is Kevin Perjurer. He's based out in Florida, keeps a bit of a low profile pseudonymously.
Oh, okay.
And the show itself, it kicked off on YouTube February 15th, 2017. So it's been going for a fair while now.
7 years, roughly. Wow, okay, and I think I read the original idea was different. Something about VR.
That's right. Yeah. Initially, the whole Defunctland name was meant for an actual virtual reality theme park.
Yeah.
The idea was you could, experience these old defunct attractions again.
Whoa.
He even put out a very early video, like a prototype, Defunctland VR, the Sorcerer's Hat, just to give a taste.
A VR park for rides that don't exist anymore. That's kind of wild. Did that ever, get off the ground?
Well, it seems like the VR side of things has been let's just say slow going. People did volunteer. VR folks signed up to help out, which was cool.
Shows enthusiasm.
Totally. But even a year or so after the channel started, Kevin mentioned on his website it was still very much work in progress.
Right.
Then fast forward to January 2021, he did release a video showing off a VR version of the old 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea ride from Disney and some other virtual bits.
Okay, so some progress.
Some, yeah. But the full VR park experience for everyone, it doesn't seem to have materialized widely. I mean, building a whole VR theme park is just a massive, massive job.
Oh, absolutely. The tech challenges alone, rendering, interaction.
Exactly. And relying on volunteers, while amazing, probably meant resource limits, too.
So it sounds like the YouTube channel, the documentation side, sort of took over as the main focus then.
It really seems that way. And that focus, looking at the history and often the downfall of amusement parks and rides all over the world, really hit a nerve.
You mean places like Disney, Universal?
Yep, the big names, Disney, Universal, Six Flags, looking at their attractions that, well, didn't make it.
And it clearly resonated. The numbers are pretty impressive. What was it? Over 1.8 million subscribers by late 2023.
Yeah, that's huge for what you might think is a niche topic.
That's fine.
And it's not just viewers. It got noticed by, the wider media world, too. In 2024, Defunctland actually got a Peabody Award nomination.
A Peabody? Wow. In what category?
Interactive and immersive, which is pretty prestigious.
That's incredible. That says a lot about the quality and the impact it's having. It's not just some random YouTube channel.
No, definitely not. That Peabody nod really shows that this kind of deep dive online documentary work is being seen as serious and important media passion project turned major player.
Amazing. Now, I also remember reading about spin-offs. It wasn't just the main Defunctland series.
Correct. The success kind of allowed them to branch out. So in 2018, they launched 2 spin-offs, Debunkedland and DefunctTV.
Okay, Debunkland. Sounds like myth-busting for theme parks.
Pretty much, yeah. Tackling rumors, urban legends about parks and rides. It actually had a couple of different hosts over its, short run.
Oh, different hosts? How did that work?
So the first season, just 2 episodes back in April 2018, was hosted by a guy named Noah Randall.
Okay.
Then it kind of rebooted on a different channel, themed alternative, with this mysterious host just called Kay, voice provided by someone named Bleeker. A bit of an odd history there.
Huh. Interesting evolution. And DefunctTV, that sounds like it moves beyond parks.
Exactly. DefunctTV looks at the history of old television shows, how they got made, why they got canceled. Kevin Perjurer hosts that one himself.
So broadening the defunct umbrella. And beyond the series, they've done full-on documentaries too, right? Longer form stuff.
Oh, yeah. Several really interesting ones. Back in 2020, they did Live from the Space Stage, a Helix story.
Helix.
Never heard of them.
Right. Apparently this, space-themed rock band that played at Disneyland for a summer in the early 80s. Super obscure, fascinating story.
Wow, okay. What else?
Then in 2021, Disney's FastPass.
Oh.
Complicated history. That one dug into the whole ride reservation system at Disney parks.
Ah, the FastPass doc. I remember seeing chatter about that. People got really into that one, didn't they? it affects the park experience so much.
Absolutely. And it showed how even something seemingly functional like ticketing has this whole messy, interesting backstory. Perfect for listeners like you who want that why.
Definitely.
Any others?
Yep. 2022 Disney Channel's theme. A history mystery all about that famous four-note jingle.
The wand ident.
Yeah. Then 2023, a big one on the history of Epcot. And just this year, 2024, they've done docs on Kid City's theme parks and also on the history of Disney's animatronics.
They're really covering a lot of ground with these documentaries. It's impressive depth.
It really shows a commitment to long-form, detailed storytelling.
It does. So let's talk a bit more about the main Defunctland series itself. I saw mentions of seasons, like TV shows.
Yeah, it's structured seasonally. Season 1 kicked things off in 2017, 22 episodes. And back then, interestingly, Kevin used to ask viewers to vote on where the ride should go in that virtual park he was planning.
Oh, right, the VR park tie-in.
Yeah, kind of a cool interactive thing early on, but they dropped that later. Also, his narration voice was apparently lower pitched back then. He sort of found his current style later.
Sounds like finding its feet, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
What about Season 2?
Season 2 ran 2018 to 2019. That seems to be where the production value really jumped up. Longer episodes, custom graphics for each theme.
Getting slicker.
Yeah, even original theme music sometimes. And it had a bit of an arc, too, focusing on the whole Michael Eisner era at Disney, his rise and fall.
Oh, interesting. Eisner's tenure is definitely a huge topic in Disney history. Lots to unpack there.
For sure. And then Season 3 started in late 2019 and is, I think, still technically ongoing.
Okay.
Planned for 22 episodes, about 13 are out based on our info. The themes are described as revisionism and futurism, even looking back at Walt Disney's original influences for Disneyland.
Revisionism and futurism.
Mm-hmm.
So not just what was, but how we look back at it and what was planned for the future.
Seems like it. They even remade an episode from Season 1 about Disneyland's Videopolis for Season 3, suggesting, a more developed look at older topics.
That shows growth, revisiting things with fresh eyes or more info. I also saw something about minisodes. What are they?
Yeah, between the big episodes, he drops these shorter ones, minisodes, and they can be about almost anything, really, often beyond theme parks. Things like the history of the Country Bear Christmas special or the McDonald's Mac Tonight character. Even the old entrance to Disney California Adventure that got demolished.
Mac Tonight? Wow, blast from the past.
Right. It's like little nostalgic deep dives into pop culture corners that maybe don't need a full hour, but are still really interesting to the audience.
A real variety. Okay, but I did see this Reddit discussion.
Yeah.
Some viewers felt the style had changed. Maybe less satire, more straight documentary.
Yeah, that's an interesting point some fans brought up. Someone on Reddit basically asked, has the style change maybe gotten less funny or satirical?
And did Perjurer respond? It's always good to hear the creator's take.
He actually did, right there in the thread. He acknowledged the comment, but pushed back on the idea it got worse. He said his plan always was for it to be a documentary series, even if Season 1 maybe had more obvious jokes.
So the documentary focus was intentional from the start.
That's what he said. He mentioned he channels the purely comedic stuff into other things now, like his podcast and books, letting Defunctland focus on the documentary side.
Okay.
But I also argued there's still plenty of satire in the writing, just maybe more subtle now than, like, sarcastic text on screen like in the early days.
Right, less overt.
Yeah. And he even mentioned doing a special sarcastic captions version of Season 2 for his Patreon supporters, so he clearly knows some people miss that older style.
That's really insightful. Shows he's listening, but also sticking to his vision for the main channel. And it makes sense to use different platforms for different tones.
Exactly. And what comes through loud and clear from all the sources is the research. It's incredibly meticulous, tons of fact-checking.
Right.
We're talking months, sometimes even years, spent digging into archives, verifying details for each video. That commitment is key to its credibility.
You can tell they're not just winging it based on memory. That rigor must be why people trust it.
Absolutely. And then they combine that research with really great storytelling. They're not just dumping facts. They structure it like a story, beginning, middle, end. Makes the history way more engaging.
Yeah, it turns potentially dry facts into something you actually want to follow. And the look of it, the production quality seems really high for YouTube.
Definitely. That's a huge part of the appeal. Crisp visuals, the music choices, a consistent style. It feels professional, like a TV doc.
Right, not just someone talking to a webcam.
No way. That polish signals real dedication.
And the community aspect. That seems important too.
Very. Kevin actively asks for input, responds to comments. It feels like a shared project discovering these histories together. That builds real loyalty.
Creates that sense of belonging, being part of the investigation. It's also wild that Perjurer does most of it himself.
Right.
Research, writing, narrating, graphics, editing.
He's basically a one-man band for the core show. He gets help with audio editing, some writing on the spin-offs, but yeah, the bulk is him. That Forbes piece really highlighted that small team, huge output.
Incredible workload. And that seasonal release schedule Forbes mentioned, that's unusual for YouTube too, isn't it? More like traditional TV.
It is. Makes each episode feel like more of an event, you know? Builds anticipation. It adds to that professional feel.
Yeah, definitely.
And Forbes also made that great comparison to official docs, like Disney Plus Imagineering Story, saying Defunctland often goes way deeper. Like, one sentence in the Disney Plus show might be a whole 40-minute Defunctland episode.
That really says something about the depth. They're not just scratching the surface.
Not at all. They're doing the deep dive, just like us.
Exactly. And why YouTube? Why stick with that platform?
Well, Perjurer thinks it's perfect because it lets these super niche topics find their audience. A TV network might balk at a show just about, say, one old ride.
Right. Too specific.
But on YouTube, there's a built-in community hungry for exactly that stuff. It connects the enthusiasts.
The power of the niche.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the whole unofficial thing. They're digging into corporate histories, sometimes the messy bits.
Yeah, that's a tricky line to walk. Perjurer knows some folks inside these companies probably enjoy the nostalgia, but others, maybe not so thrilled about airing dirty laundry or focusing on failures.
Understandable.
But being independent, not affiliated, gives them the freedom to tell the whole story, good and bad.
That independence is probably crucial for the critical analysis part.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess finding info isn't always easy for these long-gone things.
Oh, definitely not. Official records can be patchy or just gone, so they often have to piece things together from, like, old newspaper clippings, promo flyers, interviews. It's like historical detective work.
Wow. Sifting through fragments to rebuild the story. That sounds intense.
It is, but that dedication to digging up those lost histories is really what makes it special.
And doing all that plus the high production. Yet the cost per episode is apparently around $1,000. Maybe a bit more for complex ones. That seems really low.
It does seem incredibly efficient, doesn't it? Given the research and production hours, it really speaks to his passion and personal investment. This is clearly more than just a job for him.
Absolutely. So let's bring this back to our listener. Why should they care about Defunctland? Why is this interesting for someone like you who likes to be well-informed quickly?
Well, thinking about what you've told us, Defunctland is basically a perfect shortcut. It gets you really knowledgeable about this fascinating bit of cultural history, theme parks, old media, without you having to spend years researching.
Okay.
It feeds that curiosity about the story behind the story. You get the depth, but it's presented in a super engaging way. You get those aha moments, understanding why things were built, why they maybe failed.
It's like connecting the dots on why that ride you vaguely remember disappeared or why that show got canceled.
You see the bigger picture, and it balances the overview with really specific, memorable details,
Right.
like the crazy story of Action Park or the whole Fast Pass saga or maybe a TV show from your childhood. It sticks with you.
It's not just a list of dates and facts. It's stories.
Right. And it absolutely avoids feeling like a lecture. You mentioned preferring podcasts that aren't dry. This nails that. Perjurer's delivery is engaging, enthusiastic. It keeps you hooked.
So it delivers the info, but in an entertaining package.
Yeah.
Sounds like it hits that sweet spot.
Totally. It's structured, well-paced, respects your time, but gives you real substance, depth without the dullness.
Okay, so wrapping up our own deep dive here, what are the key takeaways on Defunctland? What really makes it stand out?
I think it boils down to a few core things. Number one, like absolutely meticulous research. Two, the really compelling storytelling that turns history into narrative. Three, the surprisingly high production quality. Plus that balance of view. It has nostalgia, sure, but also critical thinking. And finally, the strong community it's built. It just offers this unique, incredibly deep look at entertainment history that you won't really find elsewhere, certainly not presented this well.
It really sounds like a gem, a testament to passionate, independent creation. And it does make you think, doesn't it, watching these stories of rise and fall? What does it tell us about innovation itself?
Yeah, and about nostalgia, how our tastes change.
Exactly. And are there other niche histories out there, just waiting for someone like Perjurer to uncover them? Maybe this conversation has sparked some curiosity for you, our listener, to check out Defunctland yourself and see what forgotten worlds you might find.
Definitely worth exploring.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.